His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa met with Chairman and Managing Director of Lulu Group International Yusuf Ali at Gudaibiya Palace. His Royal Highness affirmed that in line with His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa's directives in supporting food security for all during the current circumstances, collective measures are being taken to ensure the stability of the kingdom's markets and the efficiency of services. In addition, measures are also being taken to ensuring the availability of essential consumer goods and the smooth flow of supply chains for citizens and residents. His Royal Highness highlighted the integration between various government agencies and the private sector, which is an important pillar in supporting Bahrain's food security system and enhancing the strength of the national economy. The collaboration also reflects the vital role played by the private sector in supporting Bahrain's comprehensive development. In addition, His Royal Highness commended the ongoing efforts of the relevant authorities in monitoring market conditions, enhancing oversight and coordination with relevant stakeholders, as well as their close cooperation with the private sector. His Royal Highness noted that these efforts contribute to ensuring the consistent availability of goods, maintaining price stability, meeting daily consumer needs, and boosting consumer confidence. His Royal Highness also praised the contribution of Lulu Group International in securing the supply of food and consumer goods, particularly in light of the current circumstances. For his part, Mr. Yusuf Ali expressed his gratitude and appreciation to His Royal Highness for his unwavering commitment to supporting the kingdom's private sector. Yusuf Ali affirmed Lulu Group International's commitment to securing the supply of food and consumer goods, as well as enhancing food security in the kingdom. The Minister of the Prime Minister's Court, His Highness Sheikh Isa bin Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, and Minister of Finance and National Economy, Sheikh Salman bin Khalifa Al Khalifa, also attended the meeting. The Legislative Authority held a joint meeting with Interior Minister General Sheikh Rashid bin Abdullah Al Khalifa to discuss the latest developments and the repercussions of the Iranian attacks on Bahrain and other brotherly nations, as well as their impact on regional security and stability. The meeting also reviewed the Ministry of Interior's efforts and the measures taken to maintain security and stability. The meeting was chaired by Representatives Council Speaker Ahmed Al Musallam, Shura Council Chairman Ali Al Saleh, and the Interior Minister representing the government. Also in attendance were the First Deputy Speaker of Representatives Council, First Deputy Chairman of the Shura Council, the Chairman and members of the Foreign Affairs, Defence and National Security Committees of both councils, and several senior officials from the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, and the General Secretariats of both councils. Al Musallam and Al Saleh affirmed the Legislative Authority's support for Bahrain's steadfast position under the leadership of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa and the directives of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa in rejecting and condemning the terrorist Iranian aggression and taking all necessary measures to protect national security and safeguard national sovereignty. They also expressed their appreciation to the Bahrain Defence Force, the National Guard, the Ministry of Interior, and all military, security and civilian agencies for their high level of vigilance and readiness in addressing various developments, enhancing the nation's protection and safeguarding its security. They commended the Ministry of Interior's role and efforts across all locations and sectors in protecting lives and property, enhancing civil defense measures, maintaining a cohesive internal front, enhancing communication with all segments of society, and reassuring citizens and residents through security awareness campaigns. They praised the efforts of the national talents within Team Bahrain in various work areas to serve the nation and deal with challenges, expressing their appreciation for the solidarity, cohesion, national unity, awareness, responsibility, and broad national support demonstrated by the citizens and residents of the kingdom and the leadership of His Majesty the King, as well as their firm confidence in the measures taken by the government to preserve the nation's security.
في لقائنا اليوم في إطار التعاون والتشاور بين السلطتين التشريعية والتنفيذية، تأكيداً على مسؤوليتنا الوطنية المشتركة، وإنه تنفيذاً لتوجيهات صاحب السمو الملكي الأمير سلمان بن حمد آل خليفة ولي العهد رئيس مجلس الوزراء حفظه الله. يسعدني والفريق المرافق أن نطلعكم على ما تم اتخاذه من إجراءات أمنية من قبل وزارة الداخلية في سبيل حفظ أمن الوطن جراء العدوان الإيراني الآثم الذي تتعرض له مملكة البحرين، وهو تهديد لم نشهده نحن الحاضرين في حياتنا، ولم تشهده البحرين من قبل، حيث استخدمت فيه الصواريخ والمسيرات الموجهة بكثافة عدوانية. وهذه الاعتداءات قد استهدفت سيادة مملكة البحرين وهددت أمنها وسلامتها. الحضور الكرام، إن البحرين بعون من الله ثابتة راسخة في دفاعها عن سيادتها وعن مواطنيها والمقيمين على أرضها في ظل قيادة ورعاية وحكمة سيدي حضرة صاحب الجلالة الملك حمد بن عيسى آل خليفة ملك البلاد المعظم القائد الأعلى للقوات المسلحة حفظه الله ورعاه. وليس بخاف عليكم منهجية العمل الحكومية الطموحة التي يقودها صاحب السمو الملكي ولي العهد رئيس مجلس الوزراء حفظه الله، فهي منظومة ورؤية متطورة شاملة تحرص على تضافر الجهود الحكومية والوطنية للوقوف على تلبية احتياجات المواطنين والمقيمين. الحضور الكرام، إن هذا اللقاء يهدف إلى تعزيز تماسكنا المجتمعي وقطع الطريق على أي محاولات من شأنها المساس بإجماعنا الوطني، فهي مسؤولية ثابتة ضد كل ما يمس وحدة المجتمع، وأجدها فرصة للتعبير عن خالص شكري للمواطنين المخلصين الذين يقفون اليوم مع وطنهم بوعي راسخ ومسؤولية وطنية عالية، مدركين أن صون البحرين وحماية وحدتها ليس خياراً بل واجباً وطنياً. فهذا يوم الاصطفاف والتلاحم والتماسك الوطني، يوم رد الجميل للوطن وإلى قائد الوطن الذي أحب شعبه دون استثناء وحرص دائماً على وحدته وأمنه واستقراره، لتعيش البحرين آمنة قوية اجتمعت فيها على حب الوطن إرادة ملك وشعب. وفي هذه المرحلة الدقيقة تتجلى بوضوح قيمة الانتماء الوطني الصادق، فإنه المعيار الأسمى الذي تقاس به المواقف وتختبر من خلاله الضمائر. فالوطنية ليست كلمة تقال ولا شعارا يرفع ولا صفة لحظية تسمع، بل موقف ثابت يتجسد فيه الولاء للوطن والالتفاف حول ثوابته والتمسك بهويته الجامعة. ومن يختار أن يتخلى عن هذا الانتماء أو أن يجاهر بولاءات تتجاوز وطنه وتتناقض مع مصالحه العليا، فإنه بذلك يضع نفسه خارج الإطار الوطني الذي يجمع أبناء الوطن المخلصين، ولا يمكن له أن يعبر عن هوية هذا الوطن أو أن يتحدث باسمه. فالبحرين كانت وستبقى البيت الرحب لكل مواطن مخلص آمن بوطنه ووقف جانبه وعبر عن انتمائه الصادق له وتمسك بثوابته الوطنية وكرس ولاءه لقيادته الحكيمة، واضعا مصلحة وطنه فوق كل اعتبار. وقد ترك لنا الآباء والأجداد عبر تاريخ البحرين المجيد إرثاً عظيماً من البطولات والتضحيات والمواقف المشرفة، وهو الإرث الذي أرسى دعائم ما ننعم به اليوم بعد فضل الله تعالى من أمن واستقرار وتماسك وطمأنينة. ومن ثم فإن مسؤوليتنا الوطنية والأخلاقية تقتضي أن نحفظ هذه الأمانة ونصون هذا الوطن من كل ما يمس وحدته أو يهدد استقراره، وأن نورثه لأبنائنا كما ورثناه وطناً آمناً مستقراً ومجتمعاً متماسكاً. ومستقبلا يليق بتضحيات الآباء والأجداد لهذا الوطن الذي عشنا له ونموت من أجله.
Meanwhile, the Chief of Police, Lieutenant General Tariq Al-Hassan, presented a security briefing in which he reviewed the overall security situation and measures taken to address the repercussions of Iran's terrorist aggression. The briefing also noted the efforts made by the police, civil defense and national ambulance services to protect lives and property, stabilize the security situation and enhance civil protection and public safety, in addition to the measures taken by the National Committee for Civil Emergency Management.
Dear citizens and residents, when hearing the first warning sirens while driving, kindly do the following. Continue driving and clear the left lane to open the way for emergency vehicles, civil defense, ambulances, traffic, security patrols to perform their duties. Listen to official media channels. Seek shelter in the nearest building or take cover in non-exposed areas until the danger has passed. Dear citizens and residents, if you're at home or at work, kindly do the following. Be calm, don't go out except for essentials, and as per instructions and guidelines issued by competent authorities. When you hear the second warning siren when the danger ends and situations are back to normal, the following procedures should be considered. Do not gather near affected areas for your safety and avoid hindering civil defense saving lives operations. Do not pick up objects thrown on the ground even if they are familiar to you.
The General Command of the Bahrain Defense Force announced that through the unwavering vigilance of its personnel, the BDF Air's defense system continued to successfully counter successive waves of the hostile terrorist Iranian aggression. Since the onset of hostilities, air defenses have intercepted and destroyed 188 ballistic missiles and 429 drones targeting Bahrain. The General Command expressed its pride in the exceptional combat readiness and vigilance demonstrated by BDF personnel and commended their sustained operational effectiveness in defending the kingdom. The performance of Bahrain's forces continues to inspire confidence that the kingdom's skies remain secure. The General Command urged all members of the public to exercise the utmost caution for their personal safety. Citizens and residents are advised to keep clear of affected areas and any suspicious objects, refrain from filming or photographing military operations or debris sites, avoid spreading unverified information, and consult only official and government media channels for updates, alerts and advisories. The General Command further noted that the use of ballistic missiles and drones to target civilian areas and private property constitutes a flagrant violation of international humanitarian law and the United Nations Charter, and that these indiscriminate attacks represent a direct threat to regional peace and security.
إن الجميع لا يفخر بما يظهره رجال البحرين في كافة الأجهزة العسكرية والأمنية. ربي اجعل هذا البلد آمنا.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani held telephone consultations with a number of foreign ministers, the United Nations Security Council member states. This comes within the framework of Bahrain's non-permanent membership in the United Nations Security Council for the 2026-2027 term and in preparation for the Kingdom's presidency of the Council during the current month of April. The calls addressed the latest regional developments, the ongoing Iranian aggression against the GCC states and Jordan. They also reviewed the efforts being made by the Security Council within the framework of its responsibilities to maintain international peace and security, as well as the ongoing discussions in the Council regarding the draft resolution submitted by Bahrain on behalf of the GCC states and Jordan concerning maritime security in the Strait of Hormuz and the repercussions of its continued closure to international navigation on energy security, international trade, food supplies and the global economy. Dr. Zayani also held separate consultations with the permanent representatives of the Council's member states for 2 days in New York, during which views were exchanged on the latest regional developments and the contents of the draft resolution submitted by Bahrain to the Council. The draft resolution aims to halt Iran's threats to freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz and ensure the effective and sustainable reopening of the strait to international navigation in accordance with international law and in a manner that safeguards the interests of the world's nations and peoples. The Kingdom of Bahrain began its presidency of the Security Council on April 1, 2026 as part of its non-permanent membership in the UN Security Council for the years 2026-2027. At the start of the Kingdom's presidency of the Security Council's April session, Bahrain's permanent representative to the UN in New York, Ambassador Jamal Faris Al-Ruwai'i, held a press briefing for journalists in accordance with Security Council practice, followed by an open session for all member states, missions and accredited observer officers. Al-Ruwai'i reviewed the work program that the Kingdom had formulated, which received support and praise from Security Council member states. He addressed the three most prominent issues in the regional and international context, namely Iran's brutal attacks on Bahrain and countries in the region, and how the impact of these terrorist attacks has transcended the regional context to become an international matter. The situation in the Middle East, mainly the Palestinian issue, where the Kingdom is closely monitoring the alarming developments in the West Bank and welcomes the efforts of the Peace Council and the National Administration Committee in Gaza, as well as developments in Lebanon, where the Council will seek to support the sovereignty, stability and territorial integrity of Lebanon and work to prevent it from sliding into a regional spiral of violence.
Everyone, and welcome to the press briefing for the Bahrain's presidency of the UN Security Council for the month of April. Iran's continue to attack us since February 28 in a flagrant violation of the UN Charter and international law principles. Iran continue to breach Resolution 2817, which was presented by Bahrain on behalf of GCC countries and Jordan, and has been co-sponsored by 136 countries from the wider UN membership. This has been repeatedly stated in 9 letters sent to the SG and Bahrain national capacities and 2 letters on behalf of the GCC countries since the aggression against us began. We continue to reserve the right of self-defense as stipulated in Article 51 in the UN Charter. Now we move into our priorities. Before focusing on our presidency for the month of April, I would like to remind of the 4 general priorities that shape Bahrain membership in the Council in general. First, consolidating peace and stability. Second, addressing traditional and emerging security threat. Third, ensuring inclusion and participation. And fourth, advancing multilateralism. You will see these 4 priorities integrated in our cross-cutting manner in the program of work and beyond. Now, if you allow me, focusing on our presidency priority for this month that addresses the current regional and international environment. First, we have, of course, the Iranian attack against a number of regional countries, including my country, Kingdom Bahrain. We consider this not a national or regional matter, but an international matter of concern, since its security and economic repercussions go beyond the scope of our regions. Iran's irresponsible behavior, if left unaddressed, can become a norm that we can see replicated in the other region in the world, and this is something nobody wants to see happen on their region. Second, we have the situation in the Middle East, including the Palestinian questions. We are closely monitoring the development in the West Bank. We also commend the work done by the Board of Peace and the National Committee for Administration in Gaza, and look forward to their progress. And third, we have the recent development in Lebanon. It is important that we support Lebanon's sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity. Support the effort by the Lebanese government in this regard, and prevent Lebanon from being dragged into regional conflict that it's not part of.
The Kingdom of Bahrain pursues a balanced diplomatic mission based on a well-established approach centered on promoting dialogue and peaceful solutions, as well as supporting preventive diplomacy as a key tool for averting conflicts and containing crises. Bahrain, assuming the presidency of the UN Security Council, reflects confidence in its ability to contribute effectively to the formulation of balanced positions that take into account the interests of states, respect the principles of international law, and support the international community's efforts to maintain peace and security. More in this report.
At a critical time, amid a complex international landscape and security challenges, the world's attention is turning to the Kingdom of Bahrain, which assumes the presidency of the UN Security Council for April 2026, marking a significant diplomatic milestone that reflects its prominent international standing and active role in supporting global peacekeeping and security efforts. The Kingdom of Bahrain's presidency of the UN Security Council comes at a delicate time, requiring the highest levels of international coordination and cooperation in light of the accelerating crises and growing challenges affecting security and stability at the regional and international levels. In this context, the Kingdom of Bahrain is pursuing a balanced diplomatic vision based on a well-established approach centered on promoting dialogue, prioritizing peaceful solutions, and supporting preventive diplomacy as a key tool for avoiding conflicts and containing crises before they escalate. These efforts go hand in hand with Bahrain's growing presence in the United Nations, where the kingdom continues to play a pivotal role in driving initiatives that promote collective action and support building international partnerships capable of addressing shared security challenges, thereby consolidating the foundations of global stability. This presidency also reflects the growing international confidence in Bahrain's ability to contribute effectively in formulating balanced positions that take into account the interests of states, respecting the principles of international law, and supporting the international community's efforts to maintain peace and security. In light of the current exceptional regional circumstances, as a result of Iran's hostile aggression against GCC states and a number of other countries in the region, the importance of this Bahraini role is highlighted, not only in terms of managing the work of the Security Council, but also in conveying a responsible Arab voice that reflects the region's commitment to security and stability and calls for the intensified international efforts to counter the threats targeting peoples. Through this UN role, the Kingdom of Bahrain affirms that effective diplomacy is a responsibility, a vision, and continuous action, seeking to build a more secure and stable world at a time where the need for international solidarity has become more urgent than ever before.
The Kingdom of Bahrain participated in a meeting of the Council of the International Civil Aviation Organization, the ICAO, held via video conference, during which Undersecretary for Civil Aviation Affairs at the Ministry of Transportation and Telecommunications, Hussein Al-Shuail, reaffirmed the Kingdom's support for boosting the security and safety of international civil aviation and the need to adhere to international law to protect civil airspace. Al-Shuail affirmed that Iran's criminal attacks are unlawful acts that pose a direct and serious threat to the safety of international civil aviation and constitute a violation of the Chicago Convention and the United Nations Charter. He noted that the organization's statement, which clearly condemned these attacks, which targeted the GCC states and Jordan using missiles and drones, reflects the international community's awareness of the magnitude of the risks threatening the security and safety of air navigation. He also noted that these blatant attacks have created a highly dangerous operational environment, forcing the affected countries to take precautionary measures, including closing airspace and rerouting flights, which has disrupted the flow of international air traffic. He stressed that the safety and security of civil aviation represent a collective responsibility that requires strengthening international cooperation and taking firm stances to ensure the protection of civil airspace and the sustainability of air transport. The Council of the International Civil Aviation Organization strongly condemned Iran's violations of the sovereignty of the GCC states and Jordan, as well as endangerment of civil aviation safety in those countries, and called for an immediate cessation of all unlawful acts. At its 237 meeting, the Council adopted a package of stringent measures, including a condemnation of the targeting of civil aviation infrastructure and the referral of the text of the resolution to the relevant bodies at the United Nations, along with sending an official letter to the Iranian authorities to inform them of the Council's resolution and the necessity of their compliance with international agreements. The Council also condemned the unlawful military use of unmanned aerial vehicles, which has exposed international air corridors to catastrophic risks and widespread disruptions in global air traffic. The Council further discussed the joint working paper submitted by all GCC states and Jordan, in which it considered that these actions constitute a clear violation of Article 1 of the Chicago Convention, which guarantees every state full and absolute sovereignty over its airspace, affirming that these attacks violate the UN Charter and international humanitarian law and Security Council Resolution 2817 of 2026, which condemned Iranian attacks on civilians and civilian infrastructure. The national carrier of the Kingdom of Bahrain, Gulf Air, has announced the expansion of its temporary operations from King Fahd International Airport to include Istanbul, Athens and Trivandrum in Kerala. Gulf Air will also provide a shuttle service between Bahrain and King Fahd International Airport in Dammam for passengers with confirmed bookings on these flights. Furthermore, Gulf Air is offering assistance with the issuance of transit visas through Saudi Arabia exclusively for passengers traveling to and from Bahrain who are using the ground transport services organized by the airline. Passengers whose final destination is Saudi Arabia must hold a valid entry visa, which must be arranged independently.